Yo, what's good, my people? It's your boy, Big Chris, aka the Compton Animator, and I'm here to bring you another WWE Raw review. So tonight we're reviewing WWE Raw for May the 26th, 2014, and let's get into the show. So WWE Raw May 26th, 2014, you start off the show with the Authority who come down to the ring, and they basically come down and say what's going to happen tonight with Daniel Bryan, the Evolution of Shield, and bring Brad Maddox out and ask him why did he, let the Shield be guest commentators for last week match. He basically says that he was forced to do it by the Shield, and they fire him for his mistake. Bring out Kane. Kane chokeslams and tombstone him, and that's the beginning segment. As far as this segment goes, I thought it was a pretty okay segment to kick off the show, especially, just introducing, okay, what are your two main lines of the night with Daniel Bryan and with the Evolution Shield contract signing. Those were the two main points of the night. So, you said that is, okay, that's what's going to be in the night. And then you play on something that happened last week with the whole Brad Maddox thing, and you get a high point starting off with a firing, so in a chokeslam and tombstone. So that was pretty interesting to see, and I'm curious to see whether or not Brad Maddox is going to come back and what form he'll come back in, and also what are they going to go further with Kane and stuff. So yeah, it was a pretty okay opening for what it was. Next, you get a match with what's the boy's name? Rob Van Dam and Cesaro. I keep wanting to call him Antonio Cesaro. Rob Van Dam and Cesaro. And before the match, you get bad news. Barrett, who comes out and tells everybody he got some bad news, and he's saying that swimsuit season is coming, but the bad news is that people are going to realize once they put them swimsuits on that they gained a lot of weight and that their bellies are going to be hanging over the swimsuit, and also that Rob Van Dam is basically he's going to be Rob Van Dam at the pay-per-view. I don't remember everything he said about Rob Van Dam, but I thought it was a pretty good promo from Bad News Barrett. He came out to sit on commentary here. The match itself, I thought it was pretty okay. Rob Van Dam still isn't as crisp as he used to be as far as his movements and stuff go. You had one good part in the match where Bad News Barrett comes to try to where Rob Van Dam and Cesaro end up getting on the outside. Bad News Barrett comes to try to, I guess, kind of get into contact with the match and ends up eating a kick from Rob Van Dam, which I thought was pretty good. The match goes towards the end. Bad News Barrett tries to do another interference again. Cesaro gets Rob Van Dam and does another German suplex and ends up picking up the win off his German suplex. The second time he picks up the win off that move in 2 weeks. So I'm pretty interested to see what they're going to go with the Rob Van Dam and Bad News Barrett stuff at Payback. I will give my Payback predictions on my SmackDown review. But also interesting to see why they're letting Cesaro hit the German suplexes for the win. So that's also interesting. Second time he's done that. So as far as after the match, you get Cesaro. You get Sheamus, who runs out, attacks Cesaro. They go back and forth for seconds, and then Sheamus hits him with a bro kick and lays him out, then shakes his hand while he's laid out like Cesaro did to him on SmackDown. So I like the match itself with Rob Van Dam and Cesaro. I like Bad News Barrett being out there. He was pretty good on commentary. And I like everything that was going back and forth with Cesaro as far as the match. The end stuff with Sheamus coming out I thought was okay, but I would have rather liked to seen him come out during the match or something like that. It really didn't feel like he was needed to come out at that point. It kind of felt out of place for me. So it was okay for what it was, but it really didn't feel like it was exact moment. The timing wasn't right there for me. Next, you get a Divas match. Eva Marie versus Summer Rae, going off of the Total Divas thing and something that they did on SmackDown. Eva Marie picks up a roll-up win after Layla and Fandango come out for the distraction. It was nothing. It was more along the lines of for you to set something up for a distraction with Fandango and Layla. So yeah, I mean, they talked about Eva Marie being the top 100s, one of the girls in the top 100 Maxim models or whatever. I wish she would go and do that and leave wrestling alone, but Summer Rae basically spent the match doing light hits to Eva Marie, and yeah, it was very, very under being mediocre. It was pretty bad. I would say that. So next you get a match with Drew McIntyre versus El Torito. Another match that I wasn't really feeling. The parts where Drew McIntyre and El Torito went at it really wasn't that good at all. I thought you could have done something more interesting with especially them two and a little bit of faster match. I think they could have worked a little bit better here, but the way they were working really wasn't that entertaining to me. It was just felt slow and like they were just playing around for a minute. So I didn't really like that. At the end of the match, after El Torito picks up a win, you get Hornswoggle who rips off El Torito's tail after trying to take off his mask. It was that part kind of got to me. It was pretty funny to see him rip off the tail and the way El Torito acted like he was really hurt from it. So that was pretty interesting to me, and I laughed for a little bit. It got a chuckle out of me. So it was okay for what it was. After that, you get a promo with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt comes out to address the C Nation, and he's basically just going on about everything that's with him and Cena. He's talking about how he's a necessary evil and how people that are following Cena are kind of like the poison, and he's the cure for that evil, for the evil of the people that's doing that. So he starts going on and he says that one of the main things that are part of that poison is the Jerry the King, and he goes to tell Jerry the King to come into the ring. The King doesn't want to do it, and you get JBL that actually sticks up for the King. They attack JBL and hit him with the clothesline and knock him out. Then they get King into the ring, and they basically start going back and forth with the King, talking to him and saying that you've been praising Cena all this time, lying to people and stuff, and just basically getting on him about his love for John Cena, as far as him being a fan and supporter of John Cena. So Bray Wyatt goes down, I'm gonna fuck you up for that, basically, and you get John Cena who runs out to help the King, and John Cena ends up getting beat down. The Usos come out to help. They stand off, and you get John Cena who's out inside the ring, and he starts cutting his promo about how Bray Wyatt is taking this too far by going to attack a guy like the King. He didn't go into the whole heart attack thing, which I kind of wish he would have put that in there, saying that the man had a heart attack. Why would you even go and do something like this? The announcers did talk about it. That was the main reasons why JBL got up and stood up for the King, because of the heart attack thing. But John Cena was just basically going on and saying that, he says that Payback is going to be a bitch for Bray Wyatt. And he kind of cut a good promo here, basically saying, you're an asshole for this. I didn't kind of take you seriously at first about everything that you was doing. It was kind of serious, but this is kind of showing me that, I really need to take you down. So I kind of liked it. I wish that he would have been doing this the whole time. He would go in, and he kind of has. He goes in and out of jokey, in seriousness, but I thought this was an okay promo, and I thought this whole segment was pretty good for what it was. I really do think that him attacking the King kind of brought another heel aspect to the whole character of Bray Wyatt, and kind of brought him back from being such a face. Especially with the fact that I think they're in Tennessee tonight, so the King has a kind of connection to this crowd, so it's kind of interesting to see what they did here, and I liked it a good amount. So after that, you get Zack Ryder, who comes out, and he has the American flag. He starts waving around. He gets ready to cut a promo, and he gets interrupted by Lana. She starts going on about her American hate and about how Putin is better. So after that, you get them that bring out Rusev. Quick match. He crushes Ryder, and he holds on the Alkali for too long, and you get Big E who runs out there, and he gets into a big confrontation with Big E. Big E knocks him out the ring. Big E grabs the flag and starts waving it around. As far as the whole Ryder and his match, it was quick. I like that. I always liked a lot of promos, just the quick, goofy thing to come out there and just say the Vladimir Putin stuff, and just push that on with Rusev as well. I really like the stuff that happened at the end, though, with Big E running out there and actually getting one over on Rusev this time, and starts waving the American flag around. This whole it has an 80s gimmick kind of feel to it, kind of like a Hacksaw Jim Duggan type thing, or a Sergeant Slaughter type thing. So I like this feel that they got to it. I like that they continue on this whole thing with him and Big E, and that it's just not him fighting black dudes. You know, they added a white dude in the mix here for the last 2 weeks. So this feud is getting a little bit more interesting to me. After that, you get Cody Rhodes, who's backstage, and he goes into Triple H's office where the Evolution members Randy Orton and Batista are already in the back, and they start getting into a conflict with each other. Batista and Randy Orton asking them, "Why are you here?" Cody Rhodes is saying, "We wasn't on TV last week, and we don't want that to happen again. We want to be on TV this week, and we're saying that we want a match, and we're offering to anybody in the back, whoever going to give us a match, we want a match on TV this week." So Cody Rhodes starts going into how, you know, Randy Orton used to be better, but he stayed the same. Both of them didn't evolve. He calls Randy Orton an RK. I think he said RK suck up or something like that, and he calls Batista a skinny jeans sellout or something. He starts ragging on both dudes. I thought Cody Rhodes was really good here, and the way he projected himself and his character was really good. It had kind of a heelish touch to it, so it kept playing off of the whole thing of Cody Rhodes not being the clear babyface anymore. So I really didn't like that. And you get Triple H who comes in and says, you know, fuck all the bullshit. I'm gonna put you in a match. And Cody Rhodes, since you want something big, I'm gonna give you a big match tonight and put you in a tag team match, Rhodes Brothers versus the Evolution, 2 members of the Evolution, and it's going to be a match that you're never going to forget. So you get the match with the Rhodes Brothers versus Evolution, and the match I thought was pretty chill. It was kind of started off a little hard hitting, and you know, it was very fast paced to it. Even Batista had to keep up the pace with both of these guys because Cody Rhodes works quick sometimes, and you know, I thought it was pretty good. You get one point in the match where Cody Rhodes goes for a disaster kick on Batista, knocks him out the ring, gets ready to go for another disaster kick on Randy Orton, and gets a RKO out of nowhere while trying to do the disaster kick, which I thought was a really good spot. Randy Orton picks him up again and hits him with another RKO and pins him 1, 2, 3. You get the announcer comes on and says that this is now an elimination match, no holds barred match, and Cody Rhodes is now eliminated. And they go in and saying that, okay, now it's just Goldust versus both of these guys. And you get Goldust who basically gets beat the shit down here. He tries to come back a little bit, but it doesn't help him from eating the RKO and a spear and a Batista bomb. So, you know, the Evolution picks up the win and standing tall here. I really did like this little segment here in the match. It had a good pace to it, and it just kept the Rhodes Brothers looking a little bit strong here, showing that, you know, they can kind of go over if it wasn't for, you know, their kind of cockiness a little bit, especially from Cody Rhodes. And also, you know, it kept the Evolution looking very strong against a tag team that's having a little bit of problems, but one that's a formative tag team. And they also talked about how the Rhodes Brothers beat the Shield last year, so this was kind of a good way for Evolution to show that they can beat the guys who beat the Shield. So I thought this was a pretty good match for itself. Next, you get Bo Dallas, who makes his Raw debut. He comes out, does the whole Bo Dallas thing of putting himself over and saying, you know, people should both leave and stuff. And he has another match with Sin Cara, which he had on SmackDown. I thought this match was a little bit better. It was a little bit more fresher. Sin Cara had some more offense here. Bo Dallas' offense was okay. I still like the things where he does one move, his first move in a match, and just goes crazy about actually doing a move in a match. The one problem that comes from Bo Dallas right now is that he may end up getting a few cheers just from the crowd members that want to cheer when he starts cheering. And I think, especially with his promos, he ends up winning this match with the running bulldog, or what they call the bulldog. And he starts cutting a promo, you know, basically saying that, you know, he won. He won because he believed in himself, and if you believe in yourself, you'll be a winner too, and some kind of thing like that. But you know, some people, he was getting a good amount of boos here, but some people are cheering for him, and I think that, especially in his promos, because I think he's a pretty good promo worker. he needs to kind of play it as a snarky, condescending heel to where he's saying fucked up things about the crowd, but also trying to say nice things at the same time. So, probably come out and say, you're lazy and you're fat. Look at him. He's fat right there. And then he says, but I believe that you can be a better person, like talking shit about the crowd, but then trying to say, oh, I believe that you can do better, something like that. If he did that, I think he could get more heel heat here. But what he has right now is kind of a in-betweener kind of look, and I don't think the crowd that doesn't know him from NXT would fully get what he is right here. But as far as the match goes, it was okay. As far as the Raw debut goes, it was okay. I don't really see how you can get this over in like one night as far as who he is and his move sets and all that stuff, because he's not great in the ring. He's okay in the ring, but this is a process with him. So hopefully they keep it with him and they keep going. Next, you had Daniel Bryan, who's called out by Stephanie McMahon, and basically she wants the titles. She starts telling Bryan that he's a B+ player. The whole shindig of what she's been telling him. Bryan comes back with her at I understand why I need to give up the titles, and the fans start saying no and stuff, and he's basically saying I fully understand that there needs to be a champion and needs to be somebody who can fight, and I fully understand this, but it's not because of the crowd that you want me to give it up. It's not because that the crowd needs somebody to fight for them. It's because you want me to give this up. And I really did like the way he portrayed this and put it on her more. And I thought that he cut a pretty good promo here saying that Stephanie's kind of a brat and that she's never been told no, and he starts telling her no. So I really did like this. You get Stephanie who comes back at him with, your wife the other week on Raw pushed me, so either you give me up the titles or I fire her, and I'm going to give you one more chance to give him up at Payback. So I'm interested to see what they do at Payback as far as whether or not he's going to give up the titles. I like how they kind of dragging this out a little bit more. You had a Daniel Bryan promo, so it still feels like he's a part of the show here. I'm really interested to see how they play this out on Payback. I think it's a very interesting thing to put Brie Bella's career on a line for this, onto whether or not this is going to make him give up the titles. I think this will be a very good spot to bring Vince McMahon in as a guy who's saying, the guy's been through enough. He's proven what I was looking for in the beginning as far as a guy who, could lead the company. He's proven that. And I think bringing Vince McMahon back at Payback and saying that, okay, let the guy keep the titles and let him get healthy and fight, So if Vince McMahon bringing him back at Payback would do very well with that. I thought this was a pretty good segment. I thought it did very well, especially for what it needed to do. So, yeah. Next, you get Alicia Fox versus Emma. And the match itself really wasn't nothing too much to it. Emma did her spots. Alicia Fox tries to lead the match, and Emma runs after her and eats a really nice boot that Alicia Fox is kind of getting really good at doing. She pushes her back into the ring, tries to do a finish on her, misses it, tries to get it thrown into the ropes. Nothing really happens, and ends up getting rolled up for her troubles and ends up losing. She goes on another tantrum. She starts ringing the bell, slapping the table, slapping people on the outside, giving a dude a wedgie, taking sodas and throwing it on herself and splashing other people. She beats up Emma on the outside as well. And I really like Alicia Fox here. I'm not too sure if she should have lost the match. I really didn't kind of like that. I think she should have still looked strong going into the pay-per-view. But this kind of crazy side to her really works well for her. It's kind of whack to have, the only way they can push divas as heels is for them to be crazy, especially for now. But you only see them with two girls, so hopefully, the next person that they push as a heel isn't crazy. And Tamina didn't play crazy; she just played a big brooding heel. So hopefully they don't keep playing a whole crazy role. But I think this is different enough from AJ to be, validated as a good crazy role. So I allow it, and I really think this is working very well for Alicia Fox. And in my prediction, I will tell you, who I think should really win the belt. So yeah, This is another good Alicia Fox crazy segment. The match was whatever, but I really did like this segment for Alicia Fox here. She's doing really good as far as playing this character right now, and she's actually making something that's not too much of anything, you know, very interesting for right now, and doing something that Damian Sandow couldn't even do. You had Paige who looked on from the back. I would have really liked to see Paige come in, try to, stop Alicia Fox from doing this crazy shit, and got into a conflict with her at the end here. But they really didn't do that here. So it was what it was as far as that. But I really did like the segment with Paige with Alicia Fox going crazy again. So yeah, especially giving somebody a fucking wedgie, that was pretty funny. So next you get Adam Rose, who comes out and he's facing Damian Sandow, who's dressed as Davy Crockett. This is like the fourth time he's dressed as somebody for a match. The match itself was mediocre as shit. It was Adam Rose's first in-ring debut. It just the whole thing of Sandow dressing up really kind of took some steam away from what Adam Rose was doing. You focus too much on Damian Sandow here. Yeah, it just really did not give any good feeling to it. You get Swagger, who comes out towards the end of the match, tries to go for a interference, and doesn't really happen. He brings the lemon out, and he's trying to beat up the lemon that comes out with Adam Rose, and Adam Rose ends up picking up a win over Sandow anyway. So you get Swagger, who comes into the ring and starts trying to beat up on Adam Rose. Adam Rose ends up returning the ass whooping back to him and hits and throws Swagger out the ring, and they have a big stare down, and Adam Rose starts dancing back with his crew, so with his rosebud. So as far as this segment goes, it was okay. Better than a lot of the segments that he had before he went to London, but it really wasn't anything great here. Next, you had a match with Alberto Del Rio versus Sheamus. These guys has fought a lot in like the past several years. They fought a lot of times. But what I did like here is that the reason why they fight a lot of times is because these two can put on a good match, and especially when they go knuckle to knuckle and smash mouth, they put on a good match. Sheamus' just hits and him going, just how hard he hits and how, physical he is really works. And Del Rio's physicality as well with the kicks and stuff really make a match between these two guys really good. And I like the way that, just both guys were hitting hard here, and just, putting it all out there. And you could really tell that, it was very much playing very well to what the match was going on with Sheamus. Is basically Sheamus starts kind of getting a little concussed as far our starting to get a little woozy from all the head kicks that he was receiving throughout the whole match and stuff. So I really did like how they played that up. It goes towards the end where Sheamus is getting a lot of head kicks. He's feeling woozy. He gets thrown to the ropes, hits a bro kick on Del Rio, and picks up the win off of that. And then after that, you get Cesaro, who comes out and just starts beating the shit out of Sheamus, hitting him in the head a ton of times, then hitting him with the neutralizer and standing tall over him. So, and I'm really liking that both the IC title and the US title have some type of storyline going into the pay-per-view. US having more storyline, but you also have the tag team titles who are with the Usos are in a storyline with John Cena right now. So it's really nice to see that all the titles have some placement as far as some type of story going for them. And I really like seeing that right now. But as far as this goes, I really did like the match, and I think this beatdown served a lot better purpose here. And as far as a re-attack, it was better timed, and how Cesaro attacked was way better here. So after that, you get the Shield, who come down, and they're supposed to get into a contract signing with Evolution. They come down, wreck the table, starts throwing the tables and chairs onto the outside, and basically they start saying that this is not going to be a normal contract signing. They're going to sign the contracts and they want to fight. And basically what you get is the Shield sign, Evolution signs. Triple H basically saying that this is going to be the last time that we're going to fight like this. This is going to be the last time at Payback that we're going to have this big ass brawl, and the Shield is going to be dismantled from this, or Evolution is going to be dismantled from this. So It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the pay-per-view. But as far as this goes, the Shield, Evolution makes it play like they're not going to get into the ring, actually do get into the ring, and they go through a big ass brawl. They start fighting each other, throwing each other out of the ring and stuff. Triple H grabs a sledgehammer, starts hitting people in the head with it, picks up the control of the whole beatdown from that, hits Roman Reigns in the head, hits the other two Shield members in the head, takes Roman Reigns, picks him up, throws him through the announce table, and the Evolution stands tall over Roman Reigns and does the Shield little hand sign thing, where the fuck it's called. And you get Evolution, who ends the show standing tall. As far as this goes, I really did like how the Shield really acted here. They weren't playing any games here. They wanted to sign a contract and get to ass whooping. Evolution came out. Triple H kind of played the whole thing of talking them out of the match, saying, you shouldn't want to do this. I signed you guys. You're really good, but if you fight us, you're going to get thrown back into anonymity. Nobody's going to know you after we whoop your ass. So I really did like that as well. And just the Evolution looking like they're not going to fight and then start fighting with the Shield and end up winning at the end was very interesting to see. And I really did like how this show ended. As far as the whole show goes for the night, it's interesting. My internet was fucking up again, so I really didn't get a chance to, get a good pace, and it took me several hours to get through this show. I had to come back and forth with the show and stuff like that, so all night I was watching it, coming back and forth, so, I can't judge the show as a full whole, but from segment to segment and giving myself a little bit of time to watch the show, I would give it a B minus. I thought there were some good points to the show, like the Evolution and Shield stuff, Daniel Bryan stuff, and the Bray Wyatt stuff and the Alicia Fox stuff. But there were also some stuff that was just poorly timed, or even some stuff that, even though it was good, we've seen it a lot, like the Sheamus versus Del Rio match. It was a good match, but it was one that we've seen a lot, and I don't think that it really needed to be on the show. To tell you the truth, that could have been one that could have been thrown to SmackDown, and they could have extended a couple of matches here, and let those extend out to give them more time here. But as far as the whole show together, like I said, I'll probably give it a B. I thought it was a pretty good show here, and it did a lot of things especially for a go-home show to the pay-per-view of Payback. It did a lot of good things to keep the show hyped up and to lead into the pay-per-view. I will end this right here with talking about a movie that I saw over a weekend, which was X-Men Days of Futures Past. A pretty good movie here. I really like a lot of the things that they did in this movie, and I said I was going to talk about this movie on my SmackDown review, and yeah, it was a lot of fun things they did here. A very solid X-Men film. They did a lot to just kind of wash the bad taste out of your mouth of what X-Men 3 and Wolverine Origins did, and kind of, make them films not really relevant here. The time travel was really good. A lot of the stuff that they did towards, just being a solid X-Men film really worked here. The way that they positioned all the characters, the way they positioned Wolverine here was really good. And the only real problem I have with this movie is that, after 7 films, it just kind of felt like, okay, just another episode in the story. It really didn't feel too special for me. The way that X2 felt, or the way X1 felt, or the way the First Class felt, where they felt kind of, more special and they had more to offer than just an X-Men movie. This was a solid X-Men movie, and probably film-wise the best of the X-Men movies. But as far as, just the feeling of, okay, I'm coming out of this movie feeling like, oh, that was fresh, that was new. I didn't really get this from this movie, but it was a really good X-Men movie. And like I said, creative-wise, film-wise, probably the best X-Men movie that has come out. But, as far as how I came out of the movie feeling about it, I still go X-Men 2 was my favorite, and this is probably my 3rd favorite X-Men movie, behind probably switching back and forth with First Class. So, I would give that movie a B+. And like I said, I give Raw a B. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit me up with the links down below. Peace out, people.